How's it going everyone, J-Star here and welcome back to another Pokémon Aim to be a Pokémon Master episode review. In case you missed last week's episode, we had the reintroduction of Lapras into the anime. But without further ado, let's jump into today's a little bit of an emotional episode. The episode opens up with Ash, Brock and Misty walking through a town, and Misty's talking about how she just bought this new heart-shaped pink bobble in her hair. They then hear a scream and they go and investigate. Ash brings out his Gengar and they go inside this house to find some sort of ghost Pokemon, and it turns out it's a Banette. We also find out from Officer Jenny that Banette has been taking heart-shaped objects. And what a coincidence, at the start of the episode, Misty had bought a heart-shaped object. It's like the episode knew what was going to happen. The group then sees Banette on top of the building, and it's looking at a picture of, well, its old owner. It's like this little girl, you can't really see its face, but she has like short pink hair, and Banette at this point is still a doll. Of course, Banette then becomes a Banette after it is abandoned. So it's a doll to start with, but then as soon as it's abandoned, it transforms into a Banette. So anyway, the group then see Banette on top of the building, and Banette spots that Misty has the heart-shaped bobble in her hair, and Banette starts to chase Misty. However, Misty hides behind a tree and Banette heads back to its old house. We also find out that it was loved a lot by this little girl, but the owners decided to move house and Banette was in the move-in room with all the other boxes and it was accidentally left behind. Ash, Brock and Misty then head to Banette's house and they find Banette and they give it the heart-shaped bobble. Banette is overfilled with joy and loved it so much it puts it on. Ash says that we're going to find your owner. They then spend the whole day trying to look for this little girl, not realizing that the little girl is now a woman. Banette then gets really sad and gets on a train and heads away. Well, Ash, Brock and Misty head to the Pokemon Center and find out and realise that this little girl in the picture is now Nurse Joy grown up. Ash then brings out Dragonite to head to the train to try and catch up to Banette. They then bring it back, reunite with Nurse Joy in a very, very emotional scene. We also see Latias flying over above watching the episode, and that's pretty much where the episode ended. So yeah, it was a decent little episode. To say that it's not a main point of the anime, like the events in this episode are not going to change the impact moving forward. The first one obviously being Banette, and I really liked how they introduced it, and the way they dealt with Banette in this episode, obviously with it being a little doll, like a teddy bear type thing, and then being abandoned, and then it becomes this vengeful ghost type Pokemon. And I really like the scene at the end where they got emotional. They had Nurse Joy and the Banettes reunited and everyone was crying and getting upset. It was just really, really nice to see how this vengeful ghost Pokemon then found closure and felt love from Nurse Joy. It was a definitely big coincidence that Misty bought a heart-shaped bubble at the beginning of this episode, and this Banette just happened to have a heart-shaped object on its head. So I think the rating I'm going to give this episode is a 9 out of 10. Again, it's not a big point of the anime, so it couldn't get that 10 out of 10, but it was still a very, very good episode nonetheless. But there you go, they are my thoughts and opinions on this week's episode. Let me know yours down below in the comment section. Hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying this episode, and I'll see you next week with a good episode. We've got all of Team Rocket's Pokemon coming back. I'll see you then.